Welcome back to another episode of Marketing Without Rules, the show where we inspire business owners by bringing on guests who exemplify the hunter mindset. They make moves, they color outside the lines, and they have found creative ways to channel the attention of their community into currency. This show is sponsored by Blue Crocus Solutions, a web design and SEO agency focused on helping home service companies. I am your host, Louis Vandervalk, and today I have the pleasure of chatting with Marc Mawhinney. Marc is a lifelong entrepreneur who has been helping coaches get more clients since 2014. He's almost before the internet started. He's been doing this a while. He's the host of the Natural Born Coaches podcast, which has over 900 episodes released. And he's also the Tarzan of the Coaching Jungle, a Facebook group which has over 30,000 coaches in that community. He's been a speaker at events like Social Media Marketing World and frequently makes media appearances and has contributed for entrepreneur.com. Marc's also someone who is local to me. We're both, he's in Moncton now, but I'm in Fredericton and he lived here in Fredericton for a bit. We last connected on my previous podcast in 2020. So it's been a second looping back around, but good to catch up again. Marc, welcome to the show. Excited to chat.
A few more gray hairs since then.
Yes,
you know what I got thinking? If we should co-host a podcast and we call Lewis and Marc, kind of a play on Lewis and Clark, American Explorers or whatever. I think that'd be a really good title, but we can chat about that.
That'd be a good title indeed. Marc, I'm looking forward to chatting. Again, it's been 5 years and you've been as consistent as ever. You know, I'd followed you, connected with you before we got on my first show. And here we are again. You're still repping out the consistency. We'll talk about that in a second, but can you give people a little bit of a history of your journey through business and why they should, listen to you, or some credence to what we're going to chat about here?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the online coaching space. It was March 2014, so it's coming up on 12 years pretty soon, surprisingly. Before that, I was in real estate for like a decade. But through the coaching journey, I say my business has stayed remarkably consistent. Obviously, there's some changes where you may retire a program, introduce something new, but the overall shape of the business really hasn't changed much since, certainly we talked and did the interview in 2020 or 2014. I think it's very evergreen in a lot of ways, a lot of the principles for it. And even though my world's coaches, and I know you have entrepreneurs and other people in here, there's a lot that's applicable in the coaching world that can be transferred over. Yeah.
So you're saying business is business, no matter what.
Crazy concept. Yeah.
Whatever widget we're selling, as they like to say. You had an interesting run in real estate, and then you've been coaching, and you've helped a lot of people, and that's evidenced by the fact of your Facebook group and the community, and everyone that jumps in when you chat. But you also, I know you've had your share of haters through the years. Let's talk about that. I know you like to be polarizing as well on social media because you're not afraid of it. But what should people kind of be looking at when maybe they get into something in their business that's not so exciting and kind of gets them down? Haters are kind of ripping into them.
Well, I mean, I don't think I actively go out and solicit critics, but I also don't hold back sharing my opinions because it'd be pretty boring if you didn't do that and if everyone agreed all the time. And I don't have a problem if people disagree with me or whatever. With the online space, you better be prepared for criticism or any business really. But if you're not attracting any of those critics, it means you're not putting yourself out there very much. And good examples take Facebook ads, for example. If somebody's afraid of trolls commenting on their Facebook ads, then good luck. You're almost guaranteed to get that. I read the comment section of other people's stuff, like say on Instagram. Oh my gosh, they really get it with people. So I think overall I'm pretty good that way. But you need to develop a thick skin, and it does get easier too. It's just I've been in the game a long time, went through a bad business closure in real estate that was quite public back in the day, and that attracted some heat and things as well. So you're going to have to get toughened up a little bit. And if you're 21, 22 getting into business, you may not realize it by the time you're my age, and then you've accumulated enough battle scars that your skin will thicken. But I don't think anyone ever likes to have people not like them. Human trait is we all want to be liked. It's just that's not possible in business, especially in this highly polarized time that we're in politically, social, hot button issues, people can't even agree. The sky is blue would probably get a bunch of people attacking you, or something that's, could be common sense. So yeah, you can't worry about that. You just got to get out there and take your slings and arrows.
Yeah, if you want to antagonize our whole American audience, we can just say "Go Jays," right?
I'm a big Blue Jays fan. I don't know if there's any Yankees fans who are watching, and I don't want to get too cocky because there's still some games left to play. But yeah, I joked with you. I didn't know if I'd have my voice today because I've been cheering quite loudly the first 2 games of the series, and luckily I still have my voice.
We lucked out. Yeah, we'll keep that good juju going for Canada. But yeah,
well, on the
I mean,
flip side, you and I are in Canada, and of course, we're dealing with issues over tariffs and the whole elbows up thing, for Canadians. And most of my clients are in the States, most of my business that I do, and I really like Americans. I'm trying to save myself from the Yankees comment, because I do stick up for Americans, and I feel Canadians, sometimes we could be a little bit snooty. You hear that joke, oh, we feel like we're the apartment above the meth lab, the crazy meth lab or whatever. I'm like, oh, come on. So I love doing business with Americans. And that's a great thing with online business. You're not restricted to your local sandbox. You can work with people all over the world.
Yeah. You walked that one back pretty quick, but I agree. I agree. I like a huge percentage, 95% of our clients are in the States too. So, and I'm dual citizen. So, I kind of straddle the line there. But no, it's interesting. Let's talk about consistency. You are consistent to a fault. Like, I don't believe you've missed a single day in your email, or if you have, it's been very few and far between. Why are you so consistent, and why did you decide to do that?
So you're right. I'm a big daily email guy, and I started that. It was April 12th of 2016, and I haven't missed a day, knock on wood. It becomes like brushing your teeth, it's habit. Once you get used to it, it's getting past the first, 3 weeks or a month. And then now I couldn't imagine missing a day. The reason I do it is I think you have to be showing up every day. It's so noisy in the online space. And I see a mistake. We'll take email, for example, that a lot of entrepreneurs make is they put all this effort into, say, 1 email a week or every 2 weeks. Well, that email, as good as it is, it could be the best email in the world, but people are going to miss it. They're busy. It got lost in their inbox, etc. I would suggest that instead of doing it that way, that you put the effort into daily, that you're splitting them up, and they don't have to be War and Peace or some big novel. You've seen my emails are a couple hundred words. I give an a lesson, something I want people to know, and then I do transition into a quick call to action. It's not like an arm twisting, really hypey thing, but I say what I have to say, and then I might write, oh, by the way, I go over this in greater detail in module 2 of my XYZ program. Here's a link, something like that. So people, if they're missing the email, they're seeing it in other places because I repackage it all over social media, my blog, etc. And that's how I recommend doing it. I don't sit down every morning with a blank screen and think, oh, what am I going to write today? I batch create them. So right now, as we record this, I'm about 3 weeks ahead in emails, and they're all scheduled out, which takes the pressure off if something happens some morning and you're like, oh, shoot, you're running around like a chicken with its head cut off. But if something time sensitive happens, if there's a zombie apocalypse tomorrow and I want to write about it, I can unschedule the one I was planning to send tomorrow, write my zombie email, and then work around it that way.
I love it. Yeah, you have a lot of interesting stuff. I mean, I'm just going through a few here. These are some older ones from back in the day, but how to cut through the noise. You've got I've been in the coaching space for 11 years. And then the people who win in 25, you say that, and then there's, hey, we're doing a virtual event. Let's, come on and join.
Well, I don't want to ruin the magic, but I do sometimes dip back and take an old email and repackage it into today. So I've never had anyone say, hey, Mark, you sent this email March 17th of 2019. How dare you repeat it now? A really quick story that I like to tell, because I think people overthink that, like, oh, gee, I used that email a year ago, I can't do it again. I was speaking at an event in San Diego, and a speaker came on, and I was sitting in on his talk, and he had almost 500,000 Facebook fans on his fan page. And as an experiment, one day he decided to do the exact same post in the morning, and then a few hours later in the afternoon. It was Guy Kawasaki.
Oh, wow.
And I always ask people, do you want to take a guess out of almost 500,000 fans, how many people complained about him using this or putting the same post up twice in the same day?
I mean, probably 0.
Well, it was 2, so pretty close. So if someone with 500,000 people and only gets 2 complaints, if you have an email list or social media with a couple thousand, you're probably not going to get a flood of complaints. And the other thing too is if I want someone to I want to hammer something home, I want them to remember an important point that I'm telling them, then repetition can be good just to hammer it home. So there's people I follow that I'm like, oh yeah, they've sent this email before because I know it, I recognize it, but it's a great point, and then it kind of reminds me of it. It doesn't fly away into the atmosphere. So remember that too. Repetition can be important.
Yeah, I regularly go through my memories on Facebook, and I'll re-comment on posts from like a year or 2 ago, just to bring it back up in the algorithm. And no one cares. They see other people interacting, and then usually it's new people that are interacting on it. So that's a little hack to use that. I'm going to start going back through all the videos I've done and start re-bringing them up, because Facebook's it's like a conveyor belt. Once it's gone, it's pretty well gone. You're not going to see it again unless someone comments on it or brings it back up again.
Yeah, it's frustrating. And you and I talked about this before we went live. The frustrating thing with social media, besides things disappearing relatively quickly and not having that stickiness, is you could have the best business post in the world, something you want people to know, and you get 10 likes, a couple comments, maybe a share. And then you put something in that's on a hot button political issue, cultural issue. And I just ran into this recently, and I had 1,200 likes on it. I had a couple hundred shares, a whole bunch of comments and everything. And I'm like, man, if only my business ones got thousands of comments, I would be, very, very happy. But that's just the way that they're designed with the algorithm, and they're designed to get you worked up and keep you on whichever platform it is. They don't want you leaving.
They want you to stay forever. And to argue and harass people and just get extremely, extremely mad at your fellow humans. What if you were to start a business from scratch? What would be your recipe? Let's say there's if to get really tactical here. I know you've got a process, and I'd love for the listeners to hear.
This is really simple. It sounds like common sense, but I do think it's powerful, and it applies not only for coaches. That's who I share it with, because I only work with coaches, but any entrepreneur. So any coach or any entrepreneur, if you can answer 3 questions, you're guaranteed success. And the questions are, who do you help? How do you help them? What's your offer, your services? And where do you find them? So who, how, and where. Now, some people might think, of course, that's business 101. That's not very earth shattering. But in my experience with people I speak with, very rarely do they have all 3 dialed in and perfectly solidified. They may not 1, maybe 2, 2.5, very rarely all 3. So it is an important exercise I think people should go through. I do have a resource, and I don't know, Lewis, if you want to share it afterwards. It's a PDF.
I will, yeah.
It's a PDF with those 3 questions laid out, and it goes into greater detail, and I'd be happy to provide that for you guys.
Yeah. So I can share your website. Is it a specific page there? Or?
Well, right now it's the current opt-in. So if you go to naturalborncoaches.com, you'll see it. The free issue of Secret Coach Club, which you were a subscriber for years. So maybe you've read this, but it's right there. It hits you in the face when you go to the site.
Talk about Secret Coach Club for a bit. I've always found it fascinating how you've taken concepts that are no longer fads, and you just continue rocking them out. So Marc not only has his daily email newsletter, but he also has a monthly actual paperback.
Actually, I have retired Secret Coach Club as of last October. So it's been about a year.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I was running it for 92 months. We got almost to 100. And I'll be honest that not that I didn't enjoy doing it, but it was a treadmill that was very difficult because it was roughly 5,000 words a month. I was the only one writing for it. I didn't take contributors' stuff, and I would get done the issue, and the next month would come very quickly.
Yeah.
And I would think, oh God. So for the last year, I was feeling like the treadmill malfunctioned and it was going faster and faster. And then I'm trying to do all my other stuff. And here's an important lesson for business. I think it's very easy to stay latched on to things just because you've done them for so long, because you can't slay a
sunk cost fallacy, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like poker. If you've got a hand in poker and you've been pushing a bunch of chips in, but you're like, oh geez, this isn't a really good hand. The flop hasn't turned out the way that I wanted. I don't think I'm going to win, but I've already put this many chips in, so I'm going to have to just keep going in. And I'm trying to remind myself not to stay married to something. So anything for my business is always on the discussion table to stop doing it if it no longer serves me. I don't anticipate quitting daily emails anytime soon, but if there's ever a point where I'm like, you know what, I'm going to change that around a little, then I'll do it. But yeah, so cool. The print newsletter, there were a few other things motivating it besides the workload, the writing. We're having issues with the U.S. Postal Service. Like every month, at least a couple issues were getting lost in transit, where I'd have a subscriber say, Mark, I didn't receive it. It's in limbo. So then we'd have to get it sent out. Postage costs, like everything nowadays, went higher and higher. So the profit margins were less. And I thought, for the amount of hours I'm putting in for this, the ROI isn't here any longer with it. So I still have the back catalog. I often share them with clients. If I'm like, geez, I wrote a whole issue about this topic, I'll send it over to you. So there's still that library of stuff there, but I haven't released a new issue in about a year.
Have you thought about turning it into an actual book?
I've thought about taking parts of it and putting into a book, but there's some stuff where I started it back in 2017 that aren't as applicable nowadays with it. So I don't think I would take it and put it word for word, but I could definitely pull snippets and segments from it.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that's for almost 500,000 words. And, an average book is 70 to 100,000 words. So
yeah, exactly.
There's interesting. I'm actually toying with the idea of taking some of these episodes and turning them into a book after a year or 2 years.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah, I think you would crush with that. Because I did get it for a year, and it's very interesting stuff.
Yeah, nowadays I get people to AI. I have a love-hate relationship with it. I use it for some stuff like Opus clips for podcast, short form video, and some other stuff. But I don't use it for content creation. And I know that makes me sound like a Luddite, and I'm just some old cranky hermit. But I feel like the danger. That's just train of thought where we're talking about books, because everyone now, oh, geez, you can write a book in 5 minutes, just feed it into AI and it'll spit it out. And I think that, where everyone's rushing to the AI content creation, I'm kind of going the other way. I don't want to be lumped in with all that, because I'm really worried the next few years, the amount of AI slop that's going to be out there, and there's just not going to, and people can't think for themselves. I've seen brain scans of people who use AI often versus those who don't. And it's very scary how much more vibrant the non-AI brain is, because they're not relying on AI for everything.
Yeah, it's I've seen that as well. Definitely seen that as well. And I think it's a multiplier too. So if you're just multiplying crap, you just get way more crap.
Yeah, I had someone who offered to write a book for me, an AI book, and he said, Mark, this process is amazing. It'll sound just like your voice, and all I have to do is get access to your programs and stuff like that. I feed it in and you'll have a book. And I got the finished product, and I wouldn't release that to public. I'm like, this isn't me. Way too many acronyms. Every page had a different acronym. So
brutal.
This is the Marc process in this. So if he was doing it for you, there would be a blue crocus, and he would come up with every letter and try to work it in. I'm like, no, this is going to stay collecting virtual dust.
You could have been a millionaire, Mark.
Well, that's it. Yeah. So I see it in the Facebook group too. It gets, of course, being Facebook, you get AI posts or whatever, and you can just smell them a mile away. not good. So I would
Right.
encourage people don't fall into the trap of being too dependent for content creation on with AI.
I saw a really interesting one. I'm gonna see if I can. I'm probably not going to find it right away, but someone asked a question in my drunk removal group, and then someone responded. I think they were asking like how can I like grow my business? And someone's like, there's like 40. It like read through, and I was like, this is an AI answer, but it looked like genuine at first glance. And they're like, there's like 40 books on drunk removal, and you should just go and find the top 3 and
Yeah.
then read them. And I was like, that was the most useless comment I've ever seen in my life.
Well, with the comments, I get them on all the platforms. And when it wasn't a big thing, like a year ago or whatever, the commenting, I would actually answer them. But then I realized, oh, yeah, it's AI, like pretty low effort commenting on it. So,
But I've seen people hawking courses on how to use AI to comment. It's great. That being said, I use AI every day. We do because it multiplies what we're doing. But I completely agree. You have to be very careful with your word in written form, and peddling that as your content. If you don't, it loses some of the pithiness. I think, for lack of a better word. I'm sure there's a better word, but it just
yeah.
loses some of the essence of who Marc is.
Yeah, I agree. It's and you can't be accused of using AI for content if you don't do it. So
Yeah. Well, sometimes human written content will show up as AI content more than AI content will in some of the testers, which is odd. But yeah, interesting stuff. Joint ventures. You are the king of joint ventures. I am very curious because I am partnering with a couple of businesses in the service space, but I'd like to revisit that. It's been a while since we've talked about it. I get to watch you do joint ventures continuously. I know you've done very well with it. But if you were a home service company, how would you structure that? Maybe tell people what you do and what a joint venture is, and then maybe we could brainstorm a little.
Yeah, so mine are different than most, and some people would say, well, this isn't a true joint venture. It's more of a, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, joint venture, I think, encompasses a lot of stuff. Basically, you're partnering with someone that you're presenting their offer to your audience and you're being compensated for it. Now, the way most people do it is, let's say, Lewis, you had something for coaches. I would promote it for you. You would pay me X% of whatever the price is. I do mine different. I do a flat fee JV. So basically means I charge a flat fee and partner keeps 100% of sales. And then I have a whole bunch of things that I do. They're a minimum a week. Sometimes they're 8 or 9 days. And there are certain things that I provide for them. I don't just send out one email and that's it. So I'm doing a week of emails, a week all over social media. I get them on my podcast, Natural Born Coaches, which is booked up really tight at the moment. So it's tough to get those spots. They get a guaranteed spot. We do 3 Facebook Lives. They get a whole bunch of additional posting privileges if they want to inside the coaching jungle, which we're very tight on. So they get that as well. And it's not. Sometimes people are like, hey, I want to have a system like yours, Marc. But I always explain to them it's not just, okay, you collect the money and then you don't do anything. Like you have to promote quite a bit with it. So I have 2 ways I partner with people. That's one way with the flat fee JV. The other one, which I introduced last summer, is called the Coaching Jungle VIP. And what that is it's a low investment for people to promote their offers on the Coaching Jungle wall and reach. We're just shy of 30,000 at the moment. I think we're 28,500. Or 600-ish. So we've always been very tight, not allowing promotion on the wall. We delete it right away. We're very strict with that. But VIPs are allowed to once a week post an offer on the wall. They're allowed to create events in the group. They get a bunch of other perks. We have a private VIP Facebook group for them and network. We do a couple Zoom calls every month. We've got almost 100 VIPs now, and you probably know some of them, but there's some just excellent people. So for networking, they're becoming affiliates for each other, getting on each other's podcasts, becoming referral sources. Some of them are hiring each other, which is very cool. It's $97 a month, or I have a lifetime for $9.97 for life to make it a real no-brainer. So most people do choose a lifetime as opposed to monthly 97 or annuals for 97. But hey, 9.97, you're in for I say life as long as the Facebook is around. If it goes away at MySpace or something down the road, I can't control that, but you should get a good number of years out of it.
I think there's a few more years of Facebook groups for sure. But either way, community is where it's at. Have you ever dabbled with school at all or plan to?
Yeah, I went grades 1 to 12. No, I'm just joking. I've poked around school. I experimented. I'm not a big school guy. So anyone who doesn't know, we're referring to SKOOL, which is a community platform. Not to knock it. The challenge that I've found just playing around with it is people are usually logged into Facebook and they're used to doing certain things there and stuff. And from what I've heard from a number of school community people who run communities, is the challenge is reminding people to log in and giving them incentive to check back in. And I'm sure some people are good at doing that. But no, I haven't. I'm a member of a few school communities to support clients and things, but I'm very rarely on school at the moment.
Yeah, I've bought a couple courses in their house on there. I'm warming up to it, but I mean, Facebook's so entrenched in our, 10
Yeah.
years ago, everybody was getting, finally everybody's grandmother was on Facebook. It'll probably take some
Yeah.
to get everyone on school.
For me, I like my free community, the Coaching Jungle, being on Facebook. But I think there's a good argument could be said that for paid communities, like you're saying, like courses and things, that I prefer housing them off of Facebook. So right now I'm on a platform called Member Up for my stuff with it, which is a fairly new platform, but it's smooth and I like it so far. I feel like there's so many Facebook groups that they're a dime a dozen and it doesn't really excite people, and they're not structured for curriculum like courses and stuff like that as well. So I like having a free community as kind of your top of your funnel on Facebook, but then moving your paid stuff off of Facebook, and then just working to get people onto that new platform, just to remind them to stay active and to check in.
Yeah, for sure. So going back to joint ventures, I love how you've structured it. It's worked well for you. People keep coming no matter how many times the haters say, "Oh, you can't do a flat fee." But if you were to do it for, let's say, a junk removal business, what would we brainstorm here a little bit and talk through what you would do as a joint venture? What just comes to mind?
Oh, boys. Well, junk removal is a little different than my business because it's on the ground, local, kind of, bricks and mortar, so to speak. So a joint venture may look different for that. Like you may be looking more at a partnership. Now this is just me tossing ideas out there. Like you've got prime real estate probably on your junk removal bins to put local advertisers on there. Good example. Where did I read it? I think it might've been Alex Hormozy's newest book. He was talking about a mentor of his who had a storage, like the renting of storage lockers or units.
Storage units, yeah.
And what that mentor did really well was he didn't just say, okay, we'll charge this much for a large unit, this much for a small one, and that's it. He monetized a whole bunch of other stuff. So he sold boxes for moving. He sold like the tape, the packing tape for it, and there's just a whole bunch of other things, locks for it, like the locks that go on each of the units. So suddenly, instead of getting just the storage unit stuff, he was doubling or tripling what he was getting from each person because of all that extra stuff. So that's how I would probably look at it: is okay, what additional things can I pull into the junk removal? And I admit I know very little about that business. I've hired junk removal people before and stuff, but I've never run one. But that's what I'd be looking at doing.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the dumpsters. So shout out to William Bird. He's one that I know has done this. And he basically does it with roofers. So he'll brand the dumpsters for their company. And then he does all the, the pickup and delivery of the dumpsters at every job for them. And we did his website 4 or 5 years ago, and he had, it was him. He's now got 5 guys, I believe, if my numbers are correct, and 5 or 6 trucks. So it worked out well. And that's his main.
Well, I'll give you a good idea that I saw in the world of pizza, of all things. There's a pizza shop in the States that, most people, I just got a pizza the other day. Most pizza places, the boxes might have their logo on it, but that's it. They're not terribly, exciting. What this pizza place did is the inside of the box, when you open the pizza box, they put like different drawings on that side of the box. Like one might be an astronaut, and then you could punch a circle out or whatever to stick your head through, and then you're encouraged to take a picture and share it with a hashtag and tag them in or whatever, which is great advertising, right? Like who would think of that? Just train of thought. I heard of another pizza place who what they did was they had it so their boxes could be separated and punched out into plates. And then it had the same thing with like, no, I don't know, cardboard knives, how that would work really well, but they had like that as well. So they were using every piece of their box to make the customer experience better. And just some examples of pun intended thinking outside the box.
Yeah. Those are the favorite things here on Marketing Without Rules is, thinking outside the box, getting creative.
Yeah, I saw a business the other day. It was a video I came across. Two young guys wanted to start $1 million business, and I forget where they're at. I think they're in Florida or something. And what they decided to do was they got permission from golf course owners. They had scuba gear and everything else to dive into the ponds. Now, I don't know if it was Florida. I'd be very careful with crocodiles or whatever. But they showed videos of them diving in, and you wouldn't believe the number of balls that they got in every pond, like just bags and bags full or whatever. And then they had a setup in their garage because it'd be too much to clean those balls by hand. So they had this really cool apparatus that they dumped the balls in, and it would wash them, and they looked brand new when they came out the other side. And then they're selling those balls, and like, look at the profit margin there. They're not paying anything for the balls and just the time to collect them and to wash them or whatever. So there's another idea. I saw a cool one as well, which, speaking of golf, you could set up I don't know if they don't have it in Fredericton. I know St. John has at Rockwood Park where they have the aquatic driving range. I don't know if they have those in Fredericton, but you could set up and get rights to put a green out in the water or greens. And you can set it up so that if they get a hole in one, they win $10,000 or whatever. But you can buy insurances for that, just like you can with a par 3 kind of golf with golf tournaments. If somebody does get the hole in one, they win the car. There's insurances that they could get for it. And the guy was breaking down the numbers, and you would think, oh, gee, like that's risky, losing money, but it has a very high profit margin because it's not easy to get a hole in one in that case. And everyone tries to do it. They're paying a lot of money for these balls to bragging rights or just for personal pride. So there's an idea for people too, if they're looking for something out of the box.
Yeah. Put a something in the back of your junk truck or something. When you say insurances, explain that to me. So like, are you buying an insurance and the insurance will pay out if they win it?
Yeah. So I've played in a couple charity golf tournaments, and what they generally do there is on the par 3s, the shorter holes, they may have, like I said, hey, I want to get to par 3 here, wins 26, I don't know, Ford Focus or whatever. But you could pay companies for insurance, and so you're not paying out the full price of the car.
So they have enough people buying into that model.
And I'm sure the insurance companies have worked all the numbers out that they're still making a profit. You also, I went to one before, and I'm shocked that they did it because every hole had waitresses from or servers from a local sports bar that were watching the holes, and it got a little rowdy. Like they were all drunk, and it was a bit of Caddyshack type thing. And I thought, geez, like how easy would it be to say to someone who's hey, I'll give you $1,000 if you say I hit a hole in one or whatever, and I win the car. So there has to be protections there, obviously with it. But yeah, that's how they work with different contests and things. Like you can buy insurances just to protect yourself. Yeah.
Learn something new every day. That's very cool.
Yeah. And a good one, just again, train of thought. Have you ever seen Semi-Pro with Will Ferrell, the basketball movie? So he owns like it's not an NBA team. I don't think it's a little bit lower level, and it's struggling. They don't get a lot of fans. So he has this contest at halftime where if you sink, the shot the whole way across the court, that you'll win $10,000. He's got the big check or whatever. And there's a scene where a fan that gets called out, it's like high on something, he can hardly stand up or whatever. And, if Will Ferrell's saying, okay, he's not going to get it, and the guy ends up throwing it across the court and nails it, like, right in there or whatever. And then they're like fighting over the check and everything. So that's just train of thought.
Will needed some insurance on that one. That's awesome. Anything that we haven't talked about that would be interesting to people that you're working on, or I mean, I know you're full of stories, which is what makes this email so interesting. Again, check out Natural Born Coaches. You can go over there, get on his email list. But anything that we haven't talked about that would be interesting to the audience?
There's another resource I should give you for your people, because a question that people have when it comes to email marketing or just any copy in general is, well, how do I come up with ideas? That seems like it's going to be tough to daily come up with things. And I've come up with a process that I put into an infographic years ago, but it's evergreen because nothing's changed. And it basically shows where I get ideas for my daily emails. So there's things like stories from my life, things from my clients, keeping confidentiality in mind, things. I just told a story from Semi-Pro, the movie. So things that you see in movies or you read in books and so on. Another one, we've been talking about groups or communities. If I'm ever stuck for an idea, I take 5 minutes scrolling down the wall of the Coaching Jungle group, and I have a ton of ideas. Like maybe what I do is I take one of the questions someone asked in there and I choose to answer it in an email so everyone can see it that way too. So the infographics called How to Become a Content Creation Machine, and I can shoot it over to you if anybody wants a copy.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah. Very cool. You read a lot of books. What's been your favorite this year?
Oh, geez, that's tough. I usually have a few books on the go, and they're usually like one or two business, one that's like maybe an interesting topic, one that's maybe baseball. So at the moment, the ones I have on the go, I mentioned Alex Hormozi's book's one of the new ones. I'm reading a book. I didn't realize this. Henry Ford, back in the day, had this ambitious idea to create a utopia in the rainforest in South America because he could get the rubber from trees for his tires and everything for his vehicles. So that was the incentive. But he had a whole plan, like to have churches there and square dances and all this stuff right in the middle of the jungle, which you'd never expect. Fordlandia is what it's called. So I'm reading a book about Fordlandia now, which I had no clue. And then I just bought a buddy from Rush, Geddy Lee, is a huge Blue Jays fan, and he has a book called 72 Stories because he's been a Jays fan since the early 80s, a big one. And that's just really cool little baseball tales. So I have a couple things I bounce around. The best one this year, I'm going to actually look because that's going to bug me. Well, I'll tell you one I just reread. It's probably 6 years old, but it's The Alter Ego Effect by Todd Herman. Have you read that one?
No, I think I got it. Haven't read it yet.
Yeah, so that one's one of my favorites because in a nutshell, it basically, whether you're in business, you're an athlete, you're an actor, whatever, it can be tough to perform sometimes unless you're adopting he says an alter ego. So, Clark Kent has Superman, right? Where Superman acts much different than Clark Kent. But he tells all these stories because he's in that world with clients where they identify an alter ego. There's certain traits and characteristics that the alter ego has. And whenever they step onto their field of play, whether it be in business, on the sports field or whatever, they're not themselves anymore. They're that alter ego, which sounds kind of, it's an interesting concept. Now, on the flip side of it, the alter ego could be used if there's a high-powered CEO that's a workaholic and he knows he has to do better on the home front with his kids and things, then that could be his alter ego is different at home. So it goes the other way. And you can adopt certain things, like you can get what he calls tokens. I'll show you my token because I'm usually just kind of fidgeting with it anyways. Might be hard to see. So this is a coin that Carpe Diem coin. Carpe Diem seize the day. And then on the back of it, it says, don't count the hours in the day, make every hour in the day count. Basically. So this is a reminder for me that, hey, don't waste time. This might be good if you're ever tempted to doom scroll on social media or something, but in a way, this could be a token for an alter ego that now you got to seize the day, seize opportunities, and don't waste time.
That's super cool. What, you'll have to shoot me the link for where you grabbed that. Do you have an alter ego?
So I've played around with alter egos, and the challenge that I've had with there's characteristics from certain entrepreneurs and things I want to do, but when it's a real person, there's a disconnect for me. So like I pull things from one of my favorite movies. I've read several books on him. Ray Kroc, who's founded McDonald's. Well, he grew
Stole
McDonald's.
McDonald's.
Yeah, that's right. Everyone, no, he stole it from the McDonald's brothers. The movie The Founder with Michael Keaton isn't really historically accurate. They really kind of paint him as a villain or an anti-hero, and he really wasn't as bad as they made it sound in that movie. But I've taken stuff from Ray Kroc. But for me to say, okay, my alter ego is Ray Kroc, a guy like he was 83, 84 when he bought the San Diego Padres. I'd like to think I'm more vibrant, and I'm younger than Ray Kroc, but I take certain things from him and from people. But for me, what I do, and this sounds funny, is I look at a different version of myself. I say Marco, because sometimes I'll say, hey, Marco, or whatever. So Marco is slightly more turned up a notch from Mark, who's not doing business. Marco's, not afraid to voice his opinions, to really push himself out there, push some buttons, be aggressive when it comes to making offers and so on. And so it's a slightly different version of myself, as opposed to me saying, my alter ego is Batman or the Hulk or something, which some people do that. That's fine. Yeah. Todd tells a story in his book. He had a young black client who was a teenager, and he's a basketball player. And every time that he stepped on the court, when it came to the final play of the game, when, he should want the ball and go for the game-winning shot, he was pulling back and he was passing the ball to others and stuff. And Todd explained there's different reasons why he was doing that. So with that client, they looked at it and they combined some different ideas. He liked, he saw a documentary on panthers, and he really liked how panthers were stealthy and they could, jump and kill with very little notice and stuff like that. And, but what they ended up doing with him wasn't the panther. That was one idea. It was the black ghost, they called, because his parents had died. And that way he could bring his parents onto the court, like the whole ghost thing. And yeah. Black Ghost was kind of like a cool name, where he's, an assassin on the court and stuff. So the book gives different exercises that you could do for it. I probably have to flesh mine out, but that would be my closest one with it, would be Marco is just a little turned up a notch from Mark.
Yeah, I know a guy, Brandon Brittingham, huge real estate guy in the States. His is Ric Flair, so he does a lot of speaking. So he has, he's got custom like Versace suit and everything that he wears.
Oh wow!
And I believe that's inside cool. is like Ric Flair, all on the his face all over.
Does he do the whole? I won't do the woo.
He does, yeah. So he does like that's what he embodies. And I believe
hopefully he doesn't party like Ric Flair the night before a speaking gig.
I don't know the answer to that. He's pretty dialed in.
What some people could do is, if they have a favorite athlete, let's say they're playing high school football, and Bo Jackson's mentioned in the book for people. He might have been a little before your time, or I don't know. He was the two-star sports star. So let's say Bo Jackson was your favorite player. Well, you get his card and you put it into your shoulder pads or something. And then so every time you put that in there, you almost feel like you're and speaking of Bo Jackson, his alter ego is Jason Voorhees from the Friday the 13th movies. I think that's what he said. So when he's on the football field, or when he was on, he was like a killer, and that he just adopted that persona.
Wow. I'd be more of a Tom Brady in the sense of slow moving and whatnot on the football field. I don't think I'd be quite as accurate.
well prepared and all that stuff.
Yeah, very cool. Very interesting. Well, Mark, great chatting as always. You bring a lot of different nuggets. I love your storytelling. We'll have the info for people, the infographic for people to download. I'm going to go take a look at that and refresh myself. And then obviously we'll have the other stuff that you can snag from Mark. Any parting thoughts for people before we jump off?
The only thing I would say for online, there's a tendency to judge where you're at based on all the highlights that you're seeing. Of course, everyone to make it sound like they're happy 24/7, they're making $1 million a day, and their relationships are perfect or whatever. And I would just encourage people to have a skeptical eye on that and not take everything that you see as face value, because I've learned that this many years in the online space. I do feel that people could get discouraged because, like, gee, why am I not further along? Because I'm seeing all these people sharing their wins, and why can they do it and I haven't done it? But you have to remember that a lot of them are full of it. I always say in the online space, I assume someone's full of shit until they prove me wrong. Because
I think that's a good.
well, you know, Steve Jobs had his reality distortion field. I can't figure out. There's some people I have in mind when I look at what they're saying, and I know they're not doing what they're saying they're doing. But I'm like, do they realize it, or they just told themselves that this so many times? They've hypnotized themselves into, you know, kind of fake it till you make it, and who knows? But yeah, I would be very careful judging yourself based on other people that way. Just stay in your lane, run your own race. The compound effect is a very real thing. Darren Hardy wrote that book, The Compound Effect. We've talked about consistency. One thing that I've done is just show up every day and do, you know, certain things, and that accumulates over years and decades, as opposed to a lot of people in business will get pumped up and they put this real heavy effort into something for a week or for a month, and then they just like burn out and just stop doing it, or they don't get the results they wanted and they're like off doing something else. I would much rather do something smaller every single day, year in and year out, as opposed to that. It's much more sustainable. So the compound effect is a real thing.
Well, you're not a very flashy guy, but you just keep showing up every day with
thank you.
No, controversial.
You're not flashy. You're boring as hell, Mark. You show up.
But you're not coming in with these wild claims and these. I don't think I've seen your Lambo picture yet, so still waiting for that.
No, Lambo in the garage, the whole Ty Lopez. No, yeah. And now that being said, maybe I should, and I say this with some clients too, is there can be a hesitation to toot your own horn and promote yourself. So I have one client I remember back in the day, she was doing really well because we were working one-on-one, same time, same day, every week. We had our call, and I would see how she's making out, and she's getting all, you know, great results for clients and everything. But when I looked at her public stuff, I would never know that. I'm like, and I asked her, and she's, from digging into it, what we discovered was that she was hesitant to look like, she didn't want to look like a braggart or a blowhard. So she went a little too far the other way. And I said, no, you got to toot your own horn sometimes there too. So it's a balance.
Yeah, it is a balance. Denise Lyons says, thank you for confirming that. Lots of liars in the game. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting too. You know, I live in the agency space. Denise has had some poor experiences with agencies. I've talked to a lot of agency owners behind closed doors, and life is not as it always seems on social media very often. You know, you hear some of the stories, and so, you know, take it with a grain of salt. I think you're guilty until proven innocent is a pretty good one for social media. Yeah, sure. Get on a phone call. I mean, I have a pretty good BS meter now. You know, having been duped a few times, and just get on a call with them if you're not sure. See how they actually act behind, you know, closed doors, and there's some interesting things that will come out. You know,
the online space is funny because I've been on the other side when people are trying to sell me, and it's someone that I never knew until we hop on a call. We talk for 15, 20 minutes, and then they're selling like a $20,000 program or whatever. And then they're offended if you're not whipping out the credit card to buy. It's like, I don't know you. Yeah. And then you hear the old line, I only work with action takers. And if you're not going to believe in yourself, I'll believe in you. It's like, oh, come on. But
I do think you once the money crosses my bank threshold.
Yeah. People are getting more sophisticated. The marketplace, like stuff that may have worked more often 5-10 years ago. Now people are wise to it. And I do think it turns them off. I just finished a campaign where for a week I was promoting one-on-one strategy calls with me. And I was very upfront with people. I said, this isn't a sales call. My goal of every call is that you leave it better off than when you first came. If I think I can help you, I will let you know, but you're going to leave with resources. If I have connections I think you should know, etc. And I had a number of people booking those calls, and I got business from it, but it wasn't from doing a hard sell on that first call. I just kind of led with, okay, I'm going to give as much value as I can with it. And then that works out better. So I prefer that approach as opposed to, okay, I got this person on for 20 minutes and I have to close them, and I'm not letting them off Zoom until they pay. And it just, it's not my style.
Some of those you'd be on the phone for a while. I had an interesting call with my accountant earlier today. Super good guy here in Fredericton. And he jumps on. He had given me the agenda before, and he's like, dude, I think I'm going to let you go. And we talked it through, and there's some stuff that he wasn't sure if he could do with the cross-border stuff and whatnot.
Oh, okay.
And it ended up the conversation I'm going to carry over to working with someone else, but I'm going to retain him on like a CFO basis.
Oh, cool.
But I was like, dude, like you've built so much trust in showing me your cards and providing value that we've already worked through, and then referring me to someone who can take care of me. Sometimes that's the best thing. Like sometimes it's not always that you got to work with Marc. Maybe he has a better connection that can serve you, but you now have Marc in your Rolodex as value adding guy, not money taking guy.
Yeah, and that accountant who I say let you go, it was like mutually beneficial probably for both in that case, but you'll probably end up referring him to people down the road and stuff, as opposed to him I'll try to figure out the cross-border stuff, and then he's not very good at it and stuff gets messed up. So that's a good approach.
Yeah. Well, lots of nuggets in here, Marc. As always, appreciate you. Good to catch up after 5 years.
Yeah.
It's been too long when we live not that far apart. But guys, as always, go back, find something, take action on it. There's lots of nuggets in here. Go find Marc at naturalborncoaches.com. We'll have the links in the description for you guys to download this stuff. But thank you again, Marc, and thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next time.